What's going on, guys? I'm Sammy Sick, and today we're going to be going on a little bit of an adventure. Now that the weather's finally warmed up a bit and it's a clear, somewhat sunny day, I figured we'd go on a hike and sort of become one with nature. It's been a while since I've been able to get out and trek a little bit. Alright guys, we have arrived at the trailhead and we've actually been hiking for a little while now. And actually I haven't seen a single person so far. I am currently on the Appalachian trail and I'm going to be hiking a small segment of it. And I figured, since I'm out here by myself, away from people, I'd tell you guys a story. So this story is from about 5 years ago. My brother and I decided we wanted to hike the Maryland and I think a small portion of the Pennsylvania Appalachian Trail, which is a little over 30 miles, I think. Now the idea was we would hike in, I think we hiked in about 16 miles, and then the next day, after we spent the night at one of the campgrounds, we would hike out. So we'd never done this before. This was our first time. Definitely amateurs, and you'll understand why as the story progresses. But we packed our bags with a whole bunch of camping equipment, not using the minimalist methods you're supposed to use when backpacking. And just so you know, that is very important. So our packs were about 50 pounds a piece. So most of that first part of that hike went great. We saw some beautiful views overlooking mountains into like valleys and whatnot, and it was very enjoyable. There were springs probably every couple miles in that portion of the trail, which made it so we didn't really run out of water at all. We got to talk to some through hikers at each spring because everybody would sort of congregate at the springs, and oftentimes they were near the campgrounds because that's the smartest place to camp, is near water. And it was great. Midday we stopped at one of those little campground shelters where there was a spring nearby. We ate lunch. I think my brother had some MREs that he had brought that he wanted to try out, which weren't bad. Definitely packed with calories. And then we continued on our way. So a little while later we come to an overlook, and it's sort of like off the trail a little bit to the left, and I think that was about half a mile, which added some distance to our hike. But we decided we wanted to see this view, and we're about halfway there, and all of a sudden we hear this really, really loud buzzing right next to us. And we'd never heard this sound before, so we stopped to investigate, and we could not find anything. Then all of a sudden we look right down where our feet are, and there was a snake. Now, growing up, I thought only rattleheads were the ones that made a rattling noise. Turns out, in Maryland, there is a timber rattlesnake, and that's what we thought it was after we jumped back in alarm. Turns out, though, after I did some investigation, that it was a copperhead, and I'll actually throw a picture of it up there. Maybe I'll throw the clip as well of us trying to get it to imitate that rattling noise. We didn't succeed, but you can see the snake moving in the video. So it's a copperhead. I think that's what the markings on its skin indicate. And they also make a similar rattling noise when they shake their tails anytime there is a feeling of being threatened. So that was the first thing that was like, whoa, we are out in nature. Good time though. So we saw this crazy view. It was great. I think I have a picture of myself there. You'll see it now. And then we continued on our way. We found a spring. We filled up our water. And that is when things started to go poorly. So, my big water bottle has a screw-on cap, and you have to unscrew it every time you want to drink from it. So I did. But I apparently didn't screw it on properly, so when I had it on a carabiner, it was leaking the entire time. And that, as it turns out, is the portion of the trail that we were getting to where there was a very large distance between the springs. And my biggest water bottle empties. So I'm left with this tiny little water bottle. And it's getting to mid-afternoon now. We are exhausted. The packs are just wearing on us. So we keep hiking. I'm pretty much dying now because I'm out of water. You know, I had my small water bottle and I tried to ration it, but it ran out pretty quick. Because when you're carrying 50-pound packs and you're hiking up this is uphill here, and you're hiking up stuff like that, it's hard. It's not easy. And we still had many, many miles to go. So we finally, as it starts getting dark, we reach a place in the trail where to the left is a sign pointing to a shelter, and to the right is a sign pointing to a spring. And on each one it has the distance to how far they are. And the spring is, I think, 0.2 miles from the shelter, or maybe 0.3, because I think the shelter was 0.1 this way, the spring was 0.2 this way. And we're dead. So this is really frustrating because that's going to add another half a mile onto our hike that we weren't anticipating. And we'd already decided at this point that we weren't going to make it to High Rock, which is where I'm going today, where the crazy view is. We were too tired, and that would add on, I think there it was a mile and some, and then back it would have been another mile and some, and it's already dark. We are going downhill in the dark. That right there is the uphill portion. We are climbing down in the dark, tripping over all these rocks, stumbling around. I'm delirious pretty much because I've been out of water for hours. Whoa, almost just fell there. And so when we finally get to the spring, which I'm going to show you in a second, the spring was basically a little puddle of water. And when I got to that spring, I literally got on my stomach. I pulled out my life straw, which is a water filter, if you're familiar. I had 2 different filters on that trip. The life straw was what I usually used, but I pulled off the the cap of my life straw, I stuck it in the water, and I got to it. I put my face down there, and I just started slurping for dear life. I don't know if I've ever had that much to drink at a single time ever, but it was the best water of my life. So I have very fond memories of it, of that sip of cool spring water. All right, so this is the spring right here. That little puddle. It comes out there. It's very clear as long as you don't, mess it up. And then it flows down there into what sounds like a stream. So, this is where I literally I laid down on these rocks right here. And I just started slurping for dear life. And then I had one of those gravity filters, which are very large. And I think it's like a gallon. And I filled one up. And I had to hike all the way up that hill that I just showed you a second ago, up there. Just because I had some water doesn't mean I wasn't completely exhausted and dead. And my brother's in a similar situation this whole time, by the way. I mean, he had a little bit more water, which he did offer me, but I'm very stubborn, and I wasn't gonna take somebody else's water because I made a silly mistake. So I didn't accept his offer. But he's still struggling. We're both dead tired. We get back to camp, the shelter, and it's full. There's like a wooden structure with some wooden bunk beds that you lay your sleeping bags out on top of, and it's completely full of other campers. Obviously, it's after dark. Nobody usually hikes after dark. So we picked a little site about 50 yards from the shelter, and we decided that we were not going to pitch a tent. We were just going to sleep in our hammocks because we brought them. Why not use them? Of course, we brought the tent too, but we decided not to use it. And so we found a couple suitable trees. We put our hammocks on those trees. We relaxed for a little while. It wasn't super comfortable after a long day of hiking, but it was much better than having a very heavy pack on our back. And then we got to cooking. So we had a couple camp food packs that you just put boiling water in basically, and I had brought a small camping stove. Now when I say it's actually a backpacking stove, this was the one thing that was like actually backpacking and had great ratings, and I used it before and it had worked well. You basically this particular one can use pretty much any fuel, so I had literally just filled up a small canister of gasoline and I'd been carrying that around with me, and all I had to do was screw it into this stove, let the gases come out of the stove, and let it sit for a little while like that, and then you light it, and then the gases go, and you get to cook on top of this little stove, and it works great. Well, I was tired, and I guess I wasn't thinking right. So I let the thing that lets the gas spray out open for too long. And when I lit it, I set the table on fire. So we're out here in the dark trying to cook, and our table's on fire, and we had to take our pans, because you can't use water on a gasoline fire. You have to get rid of the oxygen that's fueling it. So we had to take our pot lids and our pot and basically smother the fire, and then we were banging on it, scraping, trying to put out this fire, making a ruckus in this campsite where people were starting to go to bed. And we're just these two idiot newcomers who got in too late. Man, this is really uphill. Woo! But it was exciting nonetheless. We learned a lot from that part. But about that night. So the hammocks didn't work. Come like 2 to 3 a.m. we hadn't slept a wink. Is that the right word for that? I don't know. But we hadn't slept at all because the hammocks our legs were too painful from all the climbing with the heavy packs. So, middle of the night, no light. We're just like, all right, we're pitching the tent, we're putting down our sleeping bags, which we did. And we got a little sleep that night. We got up early because we still had 16 miles to hike, and that night we decided, all right, well, we can't hike to High Rock tonight because it's too late and we're too exhausted. So we wake up early thinking we're gonna hike to High Rock, which is 1.5 miles about away. So that would add like between 2 and 3 miles to our 16-mile hike. So if we thought the day before had been hard, this would be much harder because we were not only hiking more, but we were tremendously sore from the day before still. So we just kind of vetoed that plan. We were not going to hike to High Rock and see that crazy view. So while we did basically hike the entire Maryland portion of the trail, we did not get the view. The view, which you are going to see in a bit. But we made it back. I've never been that tired in my life. I think 32 miles, 2 days of hiking, 50+ pound packs. First day, delirious from dehydration. Didn't make that mistake on the second day. So that was wonderful. But now, I think in just a second I can show you the signs for the shelter and the spring where they split when we first camped. And then after that, we are going to hike up to the view. And I'm going to finish this little video off by showing you something pretty cool. Alright, so it actually doesn't say the distance to the spring, and I guess that's what caught us by surprise, but it does say the distance to the shelter right there. The shelter is up that away. The spring is down that away. And just from what I just experienced by going down there, it's actually probably quite a bit longer than 0.2 miles. It's actually probably close to 1/2 mile down to that spring. Maybe a little less than 1/2 mile, but more than 0.2 miles, I would say. All right, let's go see High Rock. All right, guys, we have just arrived at High Rock. Looks like there are some people here, so probably wait for it to quiet down and show it to you guys. There's actually a lot of people here right now, but this is High Rock. There's a lot of cool painted rocks, as you can see along here. It's kind of cool, and then you get the view. Yep. This is what people come here for. Pretty dope. I've been out here for about an hour and a half, just kind of chilling, navigating all the people that keep pulling up in large groups, making lots of noise, kind of ruining my natural experience here.
if you're like me and you spend a lot of time in your own head, sometimes it's good to get out in nature and bring yourself back to the present, especially when you got a view like that, you know, in the background.
But that is going to conclude our adventure today. I'm already in my car and ready to go. It was nice. It was nice getting out in nature and being present, because that is often very hard nowadays. But that's what this channel is kind of going to be about. Being present, going on some adventures, and there's going to be a lot more to come. So I hope you stick around. Should be going to Miami soon. And stay true, stay you, stay sick. Peace.